Done. Good morning. Welcome to the Oakland County Board of Commissioners Planning and Building Committee. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd. Could we call the meeting in order? Could we have a roll call, please?
Crawford.
Here.
McGilvray.
Here.
Dwyer.
Here.
Teets.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Whiteford.
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. Could you please join in pledge of allegiance with me? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we have approval of the previous minutes from November and December? Moved by Commissioner Crawford. We want to do them one at a time? We'll do it together. Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. Could we have approval of today's agenda? Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner McGilvray. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. So we look for any public comment. Seeing no public comment, we'll move on to today's regular agenda. The first item is Central Services Aviation Division, approval of the land lease, Costage Family Investments LLC. And we're going to have an automatic direct referral to the Finance Committee. Good morning. I need a motion by Commissioner Crawford and supported by Commissioner Jackson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Ooh.
A little reverberation. Our first item on the list today is a little bit of advanced
And you
planning.
are?
I'm sorry, I'm Cheryl Bush, Airport Manager.
Good morning.
Good morning. The first item on the list is a land lease that is planning to expire in July, and so this will extend that property to the Kostick family for another 20 years and is due to commence on August 1. So that's not any new property, just renewal of an expiring lease.
Any questions? Commissioner Teets.
20-year lease, is it because it's a unique apartment, because they have things built on the property, is that correct?
Correct.
And why 20 years versus 99 or 50? Just out of curiosity.
20 years has been historically the term. We do
Okay.
have some that are set to expire in 30 years. It's all negotiated.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of times it's driven by financing.
Yeah, probably usable life and things like that.
Right.
Now that they say it out loud. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? But in those leases, we get to renegotiate the prices every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Yeah, so we do review them.
Correct.
Any other questions following? Call roll, please.
McGilvray.
Yes.
Dwyer.
Yes.
Teets.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Whiteford.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2 is Central Services Aviation Division, Airport Land Lease, S&K Airport Properties LLC. This is also going to be an automatic referral to Finance. I need a motion. Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Teets. Good morning again.
Good morning. This is S&K. This is another Kostick family entity, Royal Air, if you remember that name from prior submittals. And this is an extension of the term and a reorganization of the legal description. So again, no new property, just extension of the term.
Any questions? Let's call the roll.
Dwyer.
Yes.
Teets.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
McGilvray.
Yes.
Whiteford.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That passed, thanks. Item number 3 is Central Services Aviation Division, Airport Land Lease, VAR Aircraft Leasing LLC. And this is also going to be moved by Commissioner Dwyer, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Good morning again.
Good morning again. Interestingly enough, BAR is another entity owned by the Kostick family and the Royal Air Organization. So it gets very confusing with all of these various entities. But this is phase 2 of the jet condo suites that we talked about in my last visit back in October-November timeframe. So they're preparing for phase 2, and this new entity, BAR, holds the new lease. So this is new property, and this is another 20-year term due to commence February 1.
Any questions? Is it on track for the suites? I mean, that's
Yes, very much so.
good, good. No other questions? Let's call the roll.
Teets,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
McGilvray,
Yes.
Dwyer,
Yes.
Whiteford.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 4 is Parks and Recreation approval of the Oakland County Parks and Recreation 2018 to 2022 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Moved by Commissioner Crawford and supported by Commissioner McGilvray. Good morning.
That's a mouthful.
Yes.
Dan Stensel, Executive Officer, Oakland County Parks, and Melissa Prouse, our Supervisor of Planning and Resource Development. This is a 5-year plan covering the strategic action plan for the park system. It is required by state and federal funding to have a 5-year rec plan. It did include an extensive stakeholder and countywide survey and a business survey. Melissa, do you have anything else?
So we were gonna leave it up to the committee to let us know how much detail you would like us to get into. I know you all received a copy of it, I think electronically. It is a very large plan. I can kind of step through the different sections and go over what's in it, or we can open it up for questions, or however you'd like us to kind of.
Yeah, if you want to give us a synopsis, that'd be
Sure,
nice.
okay. Then what I'm gonna do is kind of just flip through my copy here and kind of let you know what's in each chapter. So if you want more information on something, you'll know where to find it within the plan. So we start off with just an executive summary. And then we have an extensive chapter on plan development. The DNR has very strict guidelines about, ways you have to advertise, the comment you have to receive, how you have to put the plan together so that it meets all of their guidelines. So that's all detailed in that section. We have a section on community description. So this is kind of the demographics of the Oakland County Park System and Oakland County as a whole, and then all of the different communities that fall within the county as well. So everything that different communities within the county offer, and just some basic demographic information of the county. Section 4 is the organizational structure, and this is sort of everything. It's like a book report on Oakland County Parks. Everything you want to know about what each of our different divisions do, how we operate, the different types of committees and meetings that we have, and kind of how we function as a staff over at Parks and Rec. Section 5 is budget and finance. It's just a summary of our financials. Section 6 is recreational resources. So this is sort of a summary of all of the recreation resources available in Oakland County, what each community offers, how kind of the park system as a county fits in with that, and sort of supplements what the individual communities do. And it's just a really nice inventory of everything Parks and Recreation within Oakland County. And then we have a section on land resources, and that's really more of our sort of the physical landscape of the county, some of the history of how the county was formed and how the physical landscape reflects that. It's our sort of environmental stewardship and conservation section and why that's important to us as a park system. Section 8 is our parks and facilities. So what this is essentially, we have individual master plans for each park, for each of the 13 parks, and this kind of summarizes that. So if we included all of that, it would be like this. So it's sort of a summary of the overall vision for each park, some of the major projects that are kind of on the horizon, and then the basic, who uses each park, where it's located, and all of that information is found in that section. Section 10 is our strategic action plan, and we're very proud of this year. This is a section that we get a little bit better at each year. And one thing Dan didn't mention, we do this internally with our planning staff. We don't consult this out. So it's an extensive process. It takes us about 18 months to put it together. And this year's strategic action plan, we think is the best one that we've done. And as we explained to our commission, I don't think there's a single staff person at Parks who doesn't have a hand in this document. And it sort of sets the tone for how we're going to operate, what we're going to do, what our overall goals are for the next 5 years. So one of the things we're trying to do differently with this 5-year plan is to really keep this at the forefront instead of going back in 5 years and checking boxes and saying, what did we do, what did we not do? Our plan is to bring this to our commission every month. It's a very short summary to say, here's some of the things that we're working on currently, here's some things that we've checked off, here's some things that are coming up, just to kind of keep it as, front of mind for everybody. The next section is really just a list of national NRPA, National Parks and Recreation Standards, that we're looking at kind of aligning ourselves with. Section 12 is a report on the last plan. And then the last.
That was done in-house also.
Yep, so that was done in-house also, and then in the end is just a glossary, so that's what we've got. So we, our plan is to submit this to the DNR by the end of February. It's a March 1st deadline, and that'll actually open us up to apply. We're looking to apply for 2 grants from the DNR this April, so we'll be all set for that.
Good, thank you. Commissioner McGilvery?
Yeah, as you know, we don't have many parks on the south end of the county, and we've discussed this at our board meetings a lot. Just give us a recap of what we're gonna do with the south end strategy to build parks and recreation programming.
Some of it does revolve around a couple opportunities to get physical, additional physical presence in South Oakland. But we are also boosting our visibility in supporting local units of government and Chamber of Commerce's and DDA's to have countywide special events, such as the Rhythm and Blues Festival that's going to be in Southfield this August. We're looking at more programmatic opportunities, but we're also going to continue to look at any opportunities to get physical land mass that we can manage in South Oakland.
We have some upcoming improvements at Catalpa Oaks as well, putting a perimeter trail in there and starting to renovate those soccer fields as well.
Very good, thanks.
Any other questions? And Commissioner Jackson?
Oh, thank you. It seemed like you were going to say something. I just want to ask about, I believe last year when we met at the Waterford Oaks
Center?
Nature Center.
Oh, Red Oaks?
Oh, Red Oaks, I'm sorry, Red Oaks Nature Center in Madison Heights. And I appreciate my fellow Commissioner Gary McGilvery and all the work he does there and with the Parks Board. But I just wanted to ask, we were informed about, I think there were RAP dollars, or
Right.
will that
We
funding
increased
still
it.
be available this
Yep.
year?
Yes, it is.
The process to get those and to identify a program that that funding could be utilized for is a little bit, I guess, cloudy, for no better word. Is there a way that we could get an update on that, on how to really apply? I know there's a person, her name begins with a B, I believe.
Yeah, Brandy Boyd.
Brandy Boyd, to contact them. But is it possible for maybe you to get us maybe a tip sheet or something
Yeah, and we'll
as
send it around
commissioners?
to all the commissioners so that you're aware, that you can share that with your constituents.
Absolutely.
But that program is definitely expanded with 50 additional $1,000 for programmatic opportunities and rentals, as well as the season that we're able to provide that service is expanded into the spring and extended into the fall, where historically it was more of a Labor Day or a Memorial Day to Labor Day program.
Yes, okay. I think that information and, reviewing that would be
Do
good
that.
for us and our constituents.
Happy to.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Well, I was going to ask about the survey, so was that all in-house, or was that?
No, that we actually
That was
contract
hired,
out.
okay.
Yep, it's a
The
statistically
countywide
significant.
ones, but we do
Yeah.
a series of public engagement with our users at parks.
Yeah, I was reading through it, it seems like that was contracted out.
Yeah, yep, they do a really nice job. We go out to bid, but we end up, the same firm has done it for the last couple of years. They do a good job.
Any other questions? Commissioner Teets?
At a meta level, or at the 10,000-foot level, what's the biggest challenge in the next 5 years for the park system? If you'd say, hey, this is,
Well, continuing to look at other opportunities countywide and being able to maintain our infrastructure. We have parking lots and roadways that are in serious need of replacement. And with any development, you always have operational and maintenance costs. So we're very intuitive to keeping our eye on the prize, so to speak, in not getting into too much additional operational costs and legacy costs.
Any other questions?
so you say I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
So it's a balance.
So it's a large portion of maintaining the capital improvements that have been, because I imagine a lot of those things were constructed in the 1970s, 80s.
Some of them are, what do we have? 14, 17 historical properties within the park system, you know, so there is expense in maintaining those as well.
Being a good steward.
Yeah,
Right.
well, and our philosophy is that we have a lot of part-time staff, seasonals, and limit the number of full-time staff across all of our parks.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Jackson.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
McGilvray.
Yes.
Dwyer.
Yes.
Teets.
Yes.
Whiteford.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is facilities management, facilities planning and engineering authorization to receive bids for Children's Village and North Oakland Health Center Life Safety Building Enhancement Project. I need a motion. Commissioner Dwyer, supported by Commissioner Jackson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Over time, as our buildings change, and we do various projects, and the way things are put together change, obviously. Sometimes building codes change. So what we've done recently to make sure that we're in full compliance with all building codes, fire egress standards, and so on, is we've hired a architectural annual consultant of ours, annual contractor of ours, to do a detailed study of our physical buildings and compare the situation that we have with the codes. He has submitted a report. It's a very lengthy report. He reviewed all the Children's Village, North Oakland Health Center, courthouse here. I believe he did NOB in our Public Works building. We're going to be retaining him to look at the other buildings on campus as well as our remote buildings this first half of this year. But the CIP included $120,000 for this calendar year, or excuse me, fiscal year, to start that process of upgrading the facilities to comply with all the appropriate building codes. And there'll be more coming. We'll be coming back later this year with requests for additional funding to do some more. But instead of waiting, I wanted to at least start things out since we did have the money in the CIP. And so we're requesting at this point a approval to issue bids to start out with spending that $120,000 on the most important life safety items.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Teets?
Okay. The life safety items, can you give an example or two of what those would be? Is there a live wire hanging from a ceiling someplace that?
No, not quite that dramatic. So for example, if you were to be in a room like the Board Auditorium, the exit signs above doors leading you out. Now that exit sign is to take you to the shortest route of egress out of the building. Now if you're going through that route of egress and you come to a door that's in a stairwell, for example, and the door has a twist knob instead of a push bar or a handle,
Right.
that's technically out of compliance with two codes, one ADA and two the fire codes. All right. Now we've got buildings that are 50 years old here on campus, and while we've upgraded a lot of them to meet all those codes, every once in a while we still run into a situation that we just didn't find before, or that now finds itself in an egress path that didn't used to be an egress path because of various remodelings and everything. So that's one example. Sometimes door hardware in a path of egress swings towards you instead of away from you, which is also part of the code. Emergency lighting to reach the required foot candle levels at ground level, sometimes deficient.
Okay, I was just looking for the gist. And I
You
think
don't want
that-
me to go on?
No, I think those are great examples. I just didn't know if it was, it's just changes in the code and changes in the safety things through the years, correct? And so
Yes.
it's technically not dangerous today, but it is suboptimal.
Right, it's not like we're at risk of a fire starting
Right.
because of the
But heaven
deficiencies.
forbid, there's difficulty. Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
for life safety in the event of a fire, for example.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Any
of
other
course, we're starting with the Children's Village because those are 24/7 facilities. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, I'm glad you asked that. Any other questions? Commissioner Jackson?
So this is, you're starting with the Children's Village, as you stated. So this is life safety improvements on campus to continue to other buildings. The architectural firm went out, maybe I missed that because I was out, I don't know, went out throughout the campus and identified this type of work that might need to be done.
Yes, he did all Children's Village, and he did NOHC, because again, very large amount of public there, and he did all this courthouse.
Wow.
He did the NOB as well in the Public Works buildings, just because they were relatively small. We are retaining him, and he's an annual contractor, so he's been competitively selected already. We are retaining him between now and May to do the rest of the buildings on campus, as well as all of our remote buildings, including the district courthouses.
Okay. So to clarify, so the person that might be successful in obtaining this work would probably be able to continue, it would be like a long project for them for continuance throughout the other buildings that will be inspected and, okay.
As far as the professional services, but
Mhm.
when it comes time to doing the actual physical changes to the buildings,
Mhm.
depending on the building and the scale, right? If it's a smaller building and there's not much to do, a few door swings and hardware and a couple lights, we'll probably just utilize our annual contractors.
Mm.
If we combine a lot of the buildings together and we're looking at, you know, larger buildings like this and the dollar amount gets up there, we may at that time look at competitively bidding the construction aspect of it.
Okay, so we'll be apprised of that, but the larger contracts you just mentioned.
Yeah, for that, if I'm not mistaken, when we get to that
Mhm.
point, we're gonna have to come back to the board, right, to approve.
Just like this, but the smaller things that you mentioned as far as door hinges or whatever, those will appear on the report that we get. Those would be the projects up under, there's a dollar amount. I forget what it
Yeah,
is.
40 and $50,000, we have to go out and competitively bid.
But under that, we could use the
Our annual
annual
contract.
contract.
Or our actual in-house facilities management staff, because we do have staff
Okay.
that can handle, you know, a lot of these.
Some of these things,
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, there's the professional service contractor that's doing the study, but in
Mhm.
terms of the actual physical changes, that's got to be done by other contractors, either annuals or competitively bidding out. That'll be purchasing's decision as to whether it goes out now or just uses annual contractors. But important fact that, or point that Ed was making is there's this first piece, which is dollar-wise relatively small, and then there's the future piece, which is gonna be huge, in my opinion. Well over $1 million, and could be a couple of $1 million or more, to do everything in all the buildings. There's, well, I'll leave it at that.
But it will be ongoing, so just
Yeah.
to let us know, this is
That's
just the
correct.
beginning.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner McGover, you still?
Who is the annual contractor that we're talking about for this bid?
JFR, James Renault.
James.
F is his middle initial.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's the architect, the annual architect and code specialist that we're using to do the code study and determine what needs to be corrected. And then performing the actual work, again, we're gonna use our in-house facilities management staff and, you know, maybe one of the annual electricians. You know, we have an on-staff locksmith, so he does a lot of the door handle changes and things of that sort, so.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. Item number 6, Facilities Management Planning and Engineering Authorization to receive bids for Children's Village A and B window replacement projects. Need a motion? Commissioner McGilvery, supported by Commissioner Teets.
All right, one of the line items in the annual CIP program is window replacements. For fiscal year 2018, we've identified some windows and a few doors over at Children's Village A and B buildings. We have $275,000 in the budget to work with to replace as many windows as we can this time around. In the packet, there's a campus map that identifies what buildings up on Village we're looking at replacing doors and windows in. At this time, we're just simply asking for your authorization to receive bids.
Any questions?
Yeah, these go out there,
Correct. These will go out on Mitten, and we will receive competitive bids. And of course, when we do, we'll come back to P&B with those with the recommendation for awarding a contract.
Commissioner Dwyer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just note that windows should be replaced. They're 50 years old, 1964.
Yeah.
So I think there's a need. I'll support it.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
The tough calls. Political leadership, I appreciate that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. Thank you.
I see that. I said, I read that.
Then we have,
Johnson got elected
and then we have item number 7, which is Facilities Management, Facilities Plan and Engineering Authorization to receive bids for the 2018 campus parking lot repaving projects. Need a motion? Commissioner Dwyer, supported by Commissioner Jackson.
All right, another line item in the annual CIP program is parking lot replacements. For fiscal year 2018, we've identified the medical examiner's lot, materials management lot, and the courthouse northwest parking lot. We are budgeting just under $1.5 million to do a full removal and replacement of those lots. And at this time, we are just asking for authorization to receive bids. This will be another project that will go out on Mitten, be competitively bid, and we will be coming back to this board for recommendation once we analyze those results.
Any questions? Seeing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have communications. We have building authority minutes from August, September, October, November, and December. Need a motion to receive the file. Moved by Commissioner McGilvery, supported by Commissioner Crawford. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. Any other business? Seeing no other business, we are adjourned.